Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Perfect Ideas. If you are joining us, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more updates on our videos. And also share this information to the relevant authorities and also your friends and families and also the society, of course. So we have an alarming issue in our society, and that is prostitution. So we'll be looking at prostitution causes, barriers, and also solutions. So basically, prostitution means at one point a person provides sexual service to another person, and then in return for payment, maybe that person could promise a certain amount of payment, and then that's how it takes place. So this interpretation, definition may be open to wider, of course, interpretations. It's more of a kind of like a purchase of services you buy, and one provides and the other one buys. See, so those who are involved in prostitution, basically they are at risk of harm or exploitation. So those groups are mostly very vulnerable. And prostitution is not only limited to women and men involved in those areas. So it can take place in we have street prostitution. There is also indoor prostitution, like in homes, hotels, lodges. There is also escorting prostitutions. We have brothels open in certain places to carry out this prostitution. So those are the basics of type of prostitutions where it takes place. But we have others which are not within the scope of prostitution, but the victim of abuse appears under this concept of prostitution. For example, we have child and prostitution, and also human trafficking. It also falls when when the victim is subjected to forms of abuse, like human trafficking and child. It ends up within that tenets of prostitutions. So what are the causes of prostitution? Our main focus is only one in our society, although there are others. So the main one is income inequalities, of course, because it involves you offer sexual services in return for payment. So we have income inequalities. Others are maybe substance abuse. It can influence. You have peer pressure, So we look at those causes mainly, and so in the case of finance and that income inequalities, and you'll find that most of these victims and who face challenges in finance become very vulnerable. So, and they end up in prostitution. For example, in case of debt, a woman fails to to pay fees, maybe rent, those basics, livelihood, other livelihoods. Sometimes you go seek for a job, and maybe they are given some condition, you are subjected that in return for there's a payment transaction going on. So the lady or the man give in, and then they were in return they are given jobs. So those are the kind of the income inequalities that we are talking about. And that's the major challenge, and that is the main problem that leads to prostitution, because it is giving and seeking payment in return. So let's look at what are the barriers to. Sometimes some people, it's not their fault, it is not that they want to be in this institution of prostitutions, but the condition that puts them in that situation they may not be able to get out of that institution of prostitution. So let's look at the barriers to leaving prostitution. One is substance abuse. So some people may enter prostitution to finance addictions, and while others may become addicted to substance and they involve in prostitution so that they can be able to finance. So those wishing to leave this institution may find it also difficult to access drug or alcohol, and they may not be able also to get support which will address that complex action of addiction, prostitution, and other underlying issues, you see. So substance misuse or abuse is also found to be strongly linked with other problems such as mental and health problems, problems related to accommodation, debt, with also this judicial justice system. So someone may get involved in substance misuse, but they not get fair judgment when they are taken to court, something like that. So generally, if someone want to get out of this like substance misuse, so do they get support out there? So those are the kind of barriers we are talking about. Substance misuse. Another barriers of leaving prostitution. Why is it that someone cannot leave prostitution? One of the barriers is housing problems. Some people may lack access to affordable housing. You see, so if they want to maybe to work, they cannot get affordable housing because of that income inequalities. What will they do? They will definitely engage in prostitution, to get maybe paying their debts or rents, or some end up becoming homeless. So when they're on the streets, they will engage. They don't have homes where they can call home or they can stay. So they definitely get, for them to earn a living on the streets, they'll get involved in prostitution. So another barriers to leaving prostitution is physical and mental problems. So the common symptoms are maybe depression, anxiety. We have post-traumatic stress disorder, inability to form a trusting relationship, childhood violence. You see, we also have pattern of association with their involvements in prostitution, which prevent them from engaging with the idea of leaving prostitution as a result. So these mental problems can also be a barrier, hinder them from leaving. They keep on staying there. So there are also other barriers like experience of violence as children, which includes some children are subjected to emotional, physical, verbal, and sexual violence, and this can compound the feeling, they become worthless when they are associated with prostitution, you see. So it's a challenge. So we have also other barriers like criminalization. So this is a very significant barrier in terms of those who are seeking help. Like when they are when they want to find employments, they cannot because of that, that crucifixion, the criminalization through prostitution, you see. Very sad. The main barrier, we said basically prostitution is as a result of lack of finance, isn't it? So one of the barriers why people cannot leave prostitution is finance. They want to stay there for financial reasons, you see. So the potential lack of finance is a barrier that prevents them from leaving. For example, when prostitution means, someone maybe become addicted to drugs, or they are unable to pay debts, or they are unable to maintain their current lifestyle, you see. People who want to live beyond their lifestyle or beyond their means, you see. So the alternative is prostitution, so that they get up of their finance. Some are being coerced also, another barrier, coercion. Yeah, it could be a partner or a relative which will coerce, you to get involved in prostitution. And some of this coercion can lead to, domestic violence, because you are coerced to do so. It's not your will. Such as physical abuse, you can get emotional or financial abuse. Sometimes and you are coerced, and then someone refuses to pay you. So coercion can mainly link to drug use or accommodation problems, you see. Another barrier is lack of qualification or training, you see. So if you don't access, lack of access to education and training is also a factor, crucial factor. You cannot be able to successfully live if you have no basic training, like you are trained to live, but where are you heading to, you see. Because we are seeking, we need to seek a longer term solution for one to leave prostitution, you see. So, and what is the age of entry also, it can be a barrier. You see, sometimes you have started prostitution as early as 10 years, 15 years, as a result of some 15, young are being coerced into. So the age of entry, look at it, from 10 years, 15, 20. So you'll be unable to live at that point. It's difficult, to get focused on your future. You see, when you join prostitution at that stage. There is also stigma. How our society sad, that stigmatization problem. You are stigmatized. So people are so judgmental, that they have judgmental attitude, When someone commit a sin, is subjected to all kind of abuses. So it's very difficult for these people to live. They cannot, they don't have alternative support up the front. That stigma itself can, so stop being judgmental. If someone is engaged in vices, we are too judgmental instead of helping them get out. Okay. So we have also child protection as for example, many of those who are involved in prostitution support provision for their children, driver for the involvement. So you see, so some get involved because they want to provide for their children. They don't have alternative to provide for their children at home. Maybe a single parent, others are born out of wedlock, others their fathers ran away from home, widows, so that's why we say that in the society generally we have income inequalities. Finance is an issue, and that's why most of the men take advantage of enhancing prostitution. So what are the solutions? We have seen the causes, we have seen the barriers. Okay, so let's look at the solutions. One of the solutions is health. We have mentioned, and people who are involved in prostitution, whether you are coerced, whether you voluntarily, go into prostitution, drug addiction, stigma, mental problems. So these people suffer a lot, both mentally, physically, emotionally. So they need health. They need to be taken care of. There must be alternatives. When you are going for solutions, you want to root these people from prostitution to something better. So for those who have health problems, will be taken care of. First, you treat them before you now release to the society. We are trying to minimize damages out there, so you must have a very firm solutions for these people. The other issue is finance. So basically prostitution revolves around finance. It's a concept of like you give offer sexual services in return for payment. You see, so whatever payment you get, you want to fund what, whether your housing, debts, your drugs, but basically prostitution revolves around finance. So how are we going to address that income or finance inequalities in our society? You see, do we have the support groups? What is the community leaders doing? What is the role of the government in terms of employment? So we have, whenever there is one institution comes to power, there is what we call winner takes it all, and the leader decide to employ all his relative families and the rest are left out. They don't know that the problems of prostitution is as a result, the causes are, the underlying cause are lack of finance. So when someone is maybe a graduate or a high school leaver with no skills, how do they sustain themselves if they don't have basic capital? Maybe you tell them go start business. You don't provide, there's no provision for maybe funding their projects. So there's a lot of burden on the shoulders of the leaders, you see. So that's finance. So prostitution is all about, the main factor revolving around prostitution is finance. So when someone fails to meet their standard of living, basic needs, they end up there. So leaders should focus on how to bridge this gap of income inequalities, financial problems in the societies. And in one of my video on the about zakat, during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the main reason why zakat was introduced is to remove poverty from the society and the problem that comes with poverty. So one of the problems that comes with poverty is prostitution, you see. So you should be more focused on how to bridge this gap in terms of creating employments, putting up centers for rehabilitation of these groups, and how to put them back to the society. Other issues is housing. So for homeless, how do you get them out of the, you see? These are more of a, it's a collective responsibility. The government, the NGOs, other institutions, religious institutions, the rich people, anybody who can be able to root out the problem from the society, they can do it. So do not be a barrier. So we also focus on employment and training. Give these youth skills. Giving skills is not all about going to school. There are some people who are talented, so you need to focus on what is it they can do and earn an income. So you need to, maybe those who have talented or have skills need to enhance their skills and set up centers where they can acquire skills and also give back to the society. We have also a justice system as a solution. You see, the problem is prostitution comes with income inequalities come with a problem. One of them is prostitution and others drugs. So what's the effect of drugs? The problem that comes with drugs abuse or misuse of drugs or addictions is also violence, killings, theft, and there must be a justice system that deals with this kind of problems. So we also have domestic and sexual violence. This one has become common also. So how do you address this issue of domestic and sexual violence? Maybe we put up centers for risk centers, and also we may have in counties toll numbers where the people can call in case there are such occurrence of such problems. Another solution is outreach and drop-in service and counseling centers. So outreach NGOs, we have very many NGOs which are very idle, and they misuse. Once they get funds, they just get away with it. So this is the time you need to reach out and to these groups we have mentioned and see what you can do for them and through them. Improve their finance. We must have alternatives. We don't just stigmatize, So and also set up a counseling institution, of course. So most of these outreach programs are more of PR kind of. So this is the right time we should get away from PR and get into something tangible, What is it that a prostitute can do? Can she make clothes? Can she do gardening? Can she sell vegetables? See, basically it's all about income inequalities. So if you can try to focus on these outreach programs, I think something will change to the society. In the counseling programs, we have the major challenges. Our religious leaders are restricted. They restrict themselves to mosques. Sometimes when we are listening to their lectures, not all people can take those messages home. So it is the high time they get out of the mosques and be on the streets preaching, What is the religious views on all these vices in our society and how to curb them? They walk out to the villages, to the streets, to the marketplaces, do crowd preaching, household visits. They have also, the idol groups, the religious leaders, the elders, and NGOs especially. So those are the groups which are supposed to link these those who are involved in social vices to the government agencies. So thanks for watching. Please share this information to the relevant authorities so that they wake up from their deep sleep and get back to to work and reduce these vices in our society. Share, like also, and please subscribe for more updates. Hit the notification bell so that whenever I upload a video, you'll be able to get the information. Thanks and enjoy your evening. Bye.